Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. How is everyone going? We're back on FFG's X-Wing subsite to talk about Wave 3, the Clone Wars content. In this video we're going to talk about the CIS, the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the Trade Federation droids. We now have them in the game of X-Wing. Just like the last video, I'm going to talk about these ship by ship rather than expansions. But before I do, I will point out, yes, we do have this bulk pack, which includes 1 Belbalub and 2 Vulture Droids. And this is an interesting choice. I do like the fact that you don't need to buy a core set to get, a bulk lot of all the generic cards and all that kind of thing. But I do kind of wish that FFG would have included the Belbalub as a separate expansion and not the Vulture Droids. Because as it stands, the only way to get the Belbalub is to buy this bulk pack, and you get 1 of them. You do get 2 Vulture Droids, and yeah, I guess you are probably going to want a lot of Vulture Droids, so I suppose that makes sense. I just prefer the model of the Republic where you can buy the ship that you only get 1 of as a separate expansion. That seems to make a bit more sense. I only hope that the Belbalub is not going to be a good ship to field multiple of, because if that's the case, then the only way to get lots of them is to buy a lot of excess Vulture Droids. And let's talk about the Belbalub first, because it's the ship that we simply have the least amount of information on. In fact, we basically have no information on this. We know that we have General Grievous here at Initiative 4. Great. That's about it. We do have the dial here. It's fairly bog standard. It is nice to have all of those hard turns. That's always a big plus for any ship. But apart from that, not a particularly large amount of red or blue maneuvers. Just seems pretty straightforward. The thing that this article seems to be pushing here is the fact that the Belbalub would appear to currently be the only ship that can field this type of upgrade. A sort of like a commander droid type of upgrade, and we have 1 of them revealed here in Kraken. During the end phase, you may choose up to 3 friendly ships at range 0 to 3. If you do, each of these ships does not remove 1 calculate token. And that seems like a pretty decent ability. I've spoken before about calculate tokens, and I've actually had the question posed to me a few times over the past few videos, so I might repeat this. I constantly get asked, hey, what's the deal with calculate tokens? Are they just worse focus tokens? The answer to the question is yes, they basically are, but you get access to this kind of stuff. If you had this kind of upgrade on focus tokens, it would frankly be overpowered. Holding on to focus tokens would be a very, very powerful thing. We'd be sort of repeating the same mistakes as we did with the tiny mind leak in first edition. But because calculate tokens are far less powerful, we can do this kind of stuff. And we can have calculate tokens retaining. And doing it on up to 3 friendly ships, if you're consistently doing it on 2 ships, if you can consistently do it on 3 ships, this feels like it has a lot of upside. Now this card does feel very swingy. If you're not getting the value out of it, that feels really, really bad. But the fact of the matter is, it does give the ship its on calculate. So if your pilot happens to be sentient and only have the focused action, it means that they can take the calculate token and not lose it. Remember, you are friendly to yourself and you are at range 0 of yourself, so that works quite well. Apart from that, it goes on the Separatist faction, but we have an interesting keyword here which was not explained in the article. Solidarity. I had a chat with you guys on the Patreon Discord, and I'm sorry, I forgot who brought it up. But the term solidarity, I agree with this theory that it means you can only have 1 card with the term solidarity in your entire squad. Meaning that this card is not only unique, but you can't say have another commander droid that has solidarity. It's like super, super unique in that kind of regard. That seems to make a lot of sense. I like that idea. And considering it has this kind of commander feel, I understand where that's coming from. And from a design point of view, I think that's really, really cool. Almost like we're going to build squads entirely based on these commanders. That feels like a really cool take on squad building. I really like that notion. If we just return to the bulk pack spread we have here, there is another one of these, but again, unfortunately, too many things on such a small image. We just don't have enough resolution to read these. Very frustrating. I'm not very pleased that FFG have done this in this article, but oh well. And that's pretty much all the stats we have on the Belbalub. Let's move on to a couple of things which have a bit more information on them. Moving on to the Sith Infiltrator, the ship that was revealed a few months ago at Gen Con. We have a little bit more information about this guy here. If we take a look at the pilots, we can pretty much make out what's going on here. We have a generic at Initiative 2. We have G something numeral, bit hard to read, but this would appear to be a droid. That does seem to make sense. We have calculate tokens in the spread as well. G45 5? I don't know. One of you guys heaps into the lore will know what this is. After you defend, you may spend one of your calculate tokens to perform a something? Don't know, could be cool. We have Count Dooku and Darth Maul. Count Dooku. After you defend, if the attacker is in your firing arc, you may spend 1 force token to... I think it says remove a red or orange token. After you perform an attack, you may spend 1 force token to perform a something. Yeah, cool, versatile, that could be interesting. Don't have enough information there to make too much of a comment, but looks like it's going to be a nice versatile pilot. We did have a proper image of Darth Maul revealed, so let's bring that up now. Initiative 5, 3 recursive force charges. After you perform an attack, you may spend 2 force to perform a bonus primary attack against a different target. If your attack missed, you may perform that bonus primary attack against the same target instead. Nice, versatile, dig it. Kind of like Bistan or the Old Gunner put together. I like the fact that it already has 3 recursive force charges, so you've got the versatility to hold them for attack or defense. But in a pinch, you can be super aggressive as well. There really is a lot of options you can use your force on here. So it feels like it almost has kind of the versatility of Darth Vader, which is really, really cool. Now, while we've got this card up here, let's talk about the stats. We have 3 red dice only at the front, 1 agility, 6 hull, and 4 shields. So, trying to quantify exactly where this ship sits in terms of relating it to other ships, I think realistically what we can compare it best to is kind of like an aggressor from first edition. Although it's a pretty tough call because aggressors had 3 agility. But only having 3 red dice at the front, it kind of feels like it wants to be an attacking vessel. But we know it probably has crew because we see a Count Dooku crew card here. And only 1 agility kind of suggests that it's more of a support ship, so I don't really know what's going on here. Its action bar reads focus, target lock, and red barrel roll. So we have another big ship with a barrel roll. And being now that it's only one of 2 big ships with just the forward firing primary attack, currently it's just this and the Upsilon, and the Upsilon is nothing like this ship. It's really hard to place what this is trying to do. I find it very, very interesting. And if we jump over to the spread, we find an interesting collection of things. First, just having a quick look at the dial. Again, I was talking about the aggressor before. It does feel very similar to that, although having access to all the hard turns is an excellent thing for a big ship. Feels nice and versatile. A K-turn at 5 speed and S-loops at 2 speed feels very unique. From first or second edition, we don't really have a ship that's too similar to this, so I do like that. But amongst everything here, we have jam tokens and tractor tokens and a cloak token. And as the ship stands, it doesn't have any use for those, so there's obviously something going on with these pilot abilities or these upgrade cards that relate to them. Indeed, if you have a look at the upgrade card spread here, we can see a bunch of upgrade cards plus another pile of face down upgrade cards. So perhaps there's a bit more going on with these crew members, who knows. A copy of Brilliant Evasion is good to have as an include. I will say that this is a large base ship, so staying out of your opponent's bullseye firing arc is going to be more difficult, so do watch out for that. What I'm particularly interested about here is this second card here, because it's clearly a force card, because we can see that force symbol at the end of the sentence, unless it's a target lock, although I'm pretty sure it's a force. It's a bit hard to see, again the resolution's a bit low, but I'm pretty confident that's a force. The reason I'm so interested in this card is because if it has a force icon on it, it's probably a force upgrade, and if you have a look at the bottom left of the card, there is some kind of requirement, which means this might be the first dark side force card that we get in the game. It has a picture of Kylo Ren, so it's probably not going to be a separatist card. It might be linked to the size of the ship. That is a slight possibility. It might be a large base ship, so it works on the Upsilon as well. But my money is this is going to be our first Dark Side Force upgrade. And that is going to lend a bit of relevance to Maul on the Scum faction. And that's going to lend a bit of relevance to Maul on the Scum faction. Perhaps this and Maul on Asajj is going to be a thing. Who knows? We'll have to wait to see what it is. It says something about 1 or more damage, you may something force. It might just say after you suffer 1 or more damage, you may recover that many force tokens. Does feel like a dark side thing. Could be interesting. We have a copy of Advanced Proton Torpedoes, Heavy Laser Cannon, Ion Cannons, cool, whatever. And Count Dooku in the crew slot. Has a recursive force charge and something range of something something. Not enough info, and novice technician for good measure. Okay, whatever, sounds good. Need a bit more info. This ship seems very interesting and unique. I am concerned that it has 3 red dice only at the front arc and only 1 agility. Feels like that could be a big downside to this ship unless it's costed correctly. I'm hoping you can field it around about the 80 point mark. I feel like if it only has 1 agility, fielding it at 100 points could be a little bit rough. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Alright, let's talk about probably the most interesting reveal from this article, the Vulture Droid. And I mean the most interesting reveal from this article, because I think this is going to be the coolest ship to fly out of everything out of Wave 3. If we take a look at the spread here, we have an Initiative 1 generic. The stats read 2 red dice, 2 agility, and 3 hull. Absolutely, strictly the worst set of stats we have on any ship, which means it may also be the cheapest ship, which is very interesting for squad building. Its actions are calculate, target lock, and barrel roll into red calculate, and we can guarantee that none of these pilots will have focus because the Vulture Droid is a droid. It doesn't actually have a pilot inside. The ship itself is a droid. It has a baked-in ability, I can't quite make out that word, but it says, while you defend or perform an attack, you may spend 1 calculate token from a friendly ship at range 0 to 1 to change 1 focus result to an evade or hit. So basically, you're spending a calculate off a friendly for the regular effects of a calculate. But that's super, super interesting because the ability to fly these in a tight-knit swarm, maybe if you have like a box formation, you target lock with the front 2, you focus with the rear 2, and that way the 2 in the front both have modified dice both on rerolls and focus conversion. That's very, very interesting to me. I'm very curious to see what this costs because yeah, if we can get this below 24 points, if we can get it like 21, 22 points, this is going to have some serious swarm potential. Very excited to play around with this one. And if that wasn't enough, we also have a unique configuration for this card. Now, if we take a look at this card here, it doesn't say Vulture class droid fighter on this ship, but we can see elsewhere on the spread it does say that. I believe that's meant to be the rear side of this card, and I think the idea is you must equip this card on that facing, therefore you cannot have the grappling struts open on any other ship. That'd be kind of weird. Anyway, the open grappling struts reads, you may ignore obstacles at range 0 and while you move through them. After you reveal your dial, if you reveal a maneuver other than 2 straight, and you are at range 0 of an asteroid or debris cloud, skip your execute maneuver step and remove 1 stress token. If you reveal a right or left maneuver, you may rotate your ship 90 degrees in that direction. After you execute a maneuver, flip this card. So that all sounds very complicated. Basically, if you go onto a rock, you can latch onto the rock. If you turn, you can just move in situ and fire off a rock like a turret, just like the Vulture Droids do in the movies. This is some seriously cool design. I'm not going to lie, I'm seriously impressed by this. The ability to turn a rock into a turret, you can, by the way, just launch several Vulture Droids onto a rock and just keep turning them around. It gives you serious board control over your opponent because your opponent most likely is not going to have the same kind of Vulture Droids. Having said that, if you have like a rock with your droids and a rock with your opponent's droids, you just point them at each other and just shell each other. That could be a lot of fun. But if you use it against ships, the fact that they sort of have to fly around, they don't have that same level of control. This is very, very interesting. And if this is a 0-point configuration, perhaps that is going to mean that the frame itself does cost a bit more. But it's a very, very interesting area of design. I'm so keen to see what happens with this. Now, we can't see the configuration for the closed struts, but I'm willing to bet it's basically going to read, you can fly into an asteroid, take a weapons disable token, and flip this card. I say that because there is a weapons disable token in this pack, and that seems to make sense. It seems to be a very powerful ability to be able to lock your ship in. The cost of that being a weapons disable token for 1 turn seems to make sense to me. I think that's what's going on here. Apart from that, on the spread, we have some kind of missiles. I think this is going to have something to do with that Buzz Droid token. We can see something about 3 bank or 3 forward, so it's like you're launching Buzz Droids at your opponent. Look, I'm going to be honest, as a Star Wars fan myself, I hate the buzz droids. I think they're one of the dumbest weapons in the Star Wars universe. I've already spoken about this. Why would you fire a missile past your opponent only to have it explode and just launch droids? Just load it with explosives. Just come on, that was not a good idea. But anyway, could be interesting for the game, nonetheless. We also have this unique ordnance for the Separatists. This is the first time that we have a missile that is faction specific. Having said that, the buzz droid weapon may also be unique for the Separatists, but this one here, which we do have revealed as a high-res image, is the energy shell charges. Only goes on the Separatists and only on ships with a calculate. Attack calculate, spend 1 charge. When you perform this attack, you may spend 1 calculate token to change 1 eyeball result to a critical result. You get the action, reload this card, that's pretty cool. 3 red dice, range 2 to 3, and you get 1 charge. Interesting. Very interesting. It's a pretty decent upgrade on the basic attack the Vulture Droids have, but there's no inbuilt way to get rerolls, you're not firing with target locks natively, and you have to retain calculate tokens in order to fire it. Calculate tokens don't stay on your ships throughout the turn, so it's not as consistent. However, if you have a Kraken, that's going to make this a bit better. Maybe your Kraken energy shell charges list is going to be a decent thing, who knows. But a pretty cool design for ordnance nonetheless. We don't have missiles in the game that only have 1 charge right now, so this is nice and unique. I dig it, I dig it. Apart from all that, we have concussion missiles, munitions failsafe in that spread as well. And if we move over to the bulk pack spread, we don't see a whole heap of other stuff. It looks like we get all the same pilots for the Vulture Droid in here. Nothing else really that interesting in terms of the tokens. We do get these sort of ion storm type obstacle things. It is worth pointing out that the grappling struts do specifically say asteroid or debris cloud, so perhaps they won't work with these. We get our bulk pack of cards and that's it. All looks really, really, really cool. Anyway, guys, that's it for the information revealed so far about Wave 3. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Reddit. Consider supporting the Patreon. Thank you so much to all my existing patrons. I'll catch you guys in the next video.